Federal authorities arrested a Washington, D.C. area transit police officer, accusing him of trying to help ISIS. Investigators say Metro Transit Police Department officer Nicholas Young tried to help ISIS operatives communicate in secret. They say he purchased gift cards and intended to give them to ISIS operatives so that they could buy mobile apps to communicate. This is the problem. Young actually gave the gift cards to an undercover FBI source.
Fair to say there are still plenty of people in law enforcement trying to come to grips with this shocker. A member of their fraternity, someone charged with serving and protecting American citizens, arrested by the FBI on a charge of providing material support to ISIS. In other words, someone on the inside with full knowledge of how the system works, allegedly sharing ideas and plans with someone in the terror network. The mind reels at the level of danger and destruction something like this could cause, and it will force not only the metro area transit cops in D.C. to wonder what else they could be missing in their midst, but will indeed send a cautionary flare to every law enforcement agency in America and around the world. The need to ensure the public safety from within and discern if indeed there are more pretending to be on the right side of the law when in essence they are the enemy right in our midst. This and much more to discuss. We invite your phone calls on the issue, 1-877-NEWSMAX. Our guest spent 27 years in the FBI. He worked counterterrorism at 2 Olympic Games, Salt Lake City and Athens. He has lived in Rio de Janeiro for the last couple of years and will speak on the security concerns now permeating those summer games that unofficially got underway today. We'll get to that momentarily. Let's welcome Bobby Chacon to the Hardline tonight. Bobby, thanks for joining us. Let's get right to this issue about the Metro police officer charged with helping the Islamic State in Washington, D.C. Look, I know a lot of members of law enforcement right now, and these are solid people who do the job every single day. They put their life on the line. What does it say to you when we find that there's somebody that the FBI has been surveilling since 2010 who's on the inside and might be somebody trying to do harm to not only cops, but to the citizens?
Well, thanks for having me. Yeah, I think that this ends, it's a stark wake-up call, I think, although, you know, it's, I hate to use the phrase that it's not surprising to me, but if we remember the catchphrase that law enforcement likes to use is that we build police departments to be a reflection of our society's population at large. So when we have large police departments, we're going to have people of all ilks that get in and rise in the ranks sometimes. And we've already had, members of our military shout Allah Akbar at Fort Hood and shoot fellow soldiers. So this is just, I think, another unfortunate evolution in this battle that the enemy is carrying to us on our shores.
Are we looking here then at the possibility of what might be unprecedented greater screening when it comes to the cops? You mentioned the military and you mentioned Fort Hood. These are people that don't come in contact with a great amount of the citizenry on a regular daily basis. We're talking about police officers here and getting involved in that who are right down there at ground level. I know that they already have screening for cops, but do you think we're now looking at something where we've got to protect ourselves and protect the cop on the beat right now and do an even greater job of finding out who gets involved?
Well, absolutely. I mean, there's no question about that. And like I said, I think you're right. I think this is an evolutionary step past where we've had military members do stuff like this. Now you have street level police officers involved in this stuff, and I hate to say where the smoke there's fire, but if there's one, you don't have large police departments in New York City. 35,000 officers right in one city. So you have hundreds of thousands of people carrying a gun and a badge across the country. And, this is something that I think a lot of police departments and police chiefs are going to wake up tomorrow and go, what do I do if I think I have someone in this? Or how do I even find out if I have someone like this in our midst?
And this should not, we need to say this out loud, I believe, Bobby, you've been in law enforcement a long time. This is not a reflection of police departments in America today. This is one individual. This is an arrest. This is alleged, if you will. People have got to realize, you mentioned 35,000 cops in New York City. 34,999 and possibly even 35,000. They all do the job every single day, go out and do it. We've got to make sure that this doesn't reflect on law enforcement in general, correct?
Absolutely. My father was NYPD. My brother was NYPD. I have a very, very high regard for law enforcement and police officers in this country. But I think a lot of police officers tell you the same thing. I think this is, we've got to, we can't be relaxed at any point in this battle. This is the enemy coming to our shores.
And we have to take the enemy on while they are here and what they are doing. Okay, let's move on. You worked 2 Olympic Games, as I mentioned. The folks at the United Nations have now sent state-of-the-art detection equipment to Brazil, fears that there may be a dirty bomb. Look, we've had a lot of problems in Rio already. You're going back there in just a couple of days here. Please be healthy and be safe. That's all I can say. And don't drink the water. But honestly,
I haven't drank it in 2 years.
But honestly here, this is an Olympic Games. The tens of thousands of people that are there. Could you give us just a real quick idea of again, I want to use that word, unprecedented type of security that you have to have now in an event like this, because you know it is a target for terror?
Yeah, unfortunately, the Olympics is one of those things, unlike, other major events where it's a little easier to, say, a Super Bowl where it's at one venue and maybe a small live site outside the venue to keep sure. This is stretched across a city. In fact, the Olympics is stretched across 10 cities, because I think there are about 9 or 10 other cities in Brazil that will be hosting soccer games during the Olympics. So, this is, one of those almost impossible tasks to keep 100% safe. So what you've got to do is you've got to prioritize the threat. You've got to, and that's by both severity and by volume. So, I'm sure that, once Nice, France happened, it was a game changer for a lot of these event security people, and one guy with a truck and a large crowd can do that kind of damage. So I think that they're well prepared, and they've integrated with the U.S. and other international security forces. I think the FBI actually gave them the tip that led to the arrest of 10 Brazilians a couple of weeks ago. So I think they're well integrated on that, and as you can see now with the tip of the possible dirty bomb coming. So I think they have a handle on the international intelligence game, and I think that they're in a good position to interdict those types of things. What's always open to possibilities is this lone wolf radicalized type actor that comes in with very little communication with the outside world, and just so that's always going to be almost impossible to stop.
But are we looking at a point, you having worked a couple of Olympic Games, are we looking at a point where, because of what's happening around the world, the terrorists themselves are maybe finding that permanent place, maybe, I don't know, Athens for the Summer Games, Lake Placid for the Winter Games, where every 4 years it's there, simply because when you have a set facility and set facilities, you can protect that a lot better than having facilities, for instance, in Rio, that are still not built properly. They're having all kinds of issues there, and that's got to be a disaster for security.
Absolutely is. And I think the IOC has toyed with that idea over the last couple of years and decades. I think that as a brand, they wanted to push it internationally, and the Rio Games probably got the bid because the games have never been held in South America before. It was up against Chicago and Tokyo, and I think Chicago probably on paper had a better bid. But, the Olympics wanted to push that brand out into the world. However, I've seen several remarks by IOC members in the past couple of days saying they have to reevaluate where they're going to put these games. And I think you'll see in the future them stay in larger cities like Tokyo has it in 2020. Los Angeles or Paris will probably have it in 2024. So I think that you'll see the larger cities that have the infrastructure to keep them safer, short of a permanent Olympic home. I think you'll see the games stay in those larger cities, many of whom may have hosted it before, and have the security apparatus in place. Those
sorts of facilities that are there. I only got about 90 seconds left. I want to get your opinion on this. The report's coming out today that the Obama administration organized an airlift of $400 million worth of cash to Iran, coincided with the January release of 4 Americans detained in Tehran. There are those people who feel that this will put more Americans at risk because, in their opinions, it's almost as if we've paid a ransom here, even though that's not exactly what the real situation is here with regard to the money. But do you feel, as a security expert, that this sort of transfer of money makes it easier and more readily acceptable for terrorists to go out and start kidnapping Americans?
Oh, of course it does. I don't think there's any doubt about that. But then again, I don't think there's any doubt about every step in this administration's policies towards Iran has made more Americans unsafe.
Why don't they get it, Bobby? Seriously, only 30 seconds. Knowing what you just said as a security expert, knowing that this could put more Americans at risk, why doesn't this administration get it?
I think political expediency. I think this was a deal they wanted to make. I don't think they're looking beyond January when they're out of office. I think they're looking at a legacy, something that they can hang a hat on, and I don't think they particularly care what happens after they're gone.
And I think, unfortunately, what you just said here is what a lot of presidents do in those last waning days, including signing pardons and a million other things here. They don't care about what happens after January. This is going to be frightening and sends a warning light to Americans around the world. And again, sends a warning light about how this administration deals with Iran. Bobby Chacon, it's always a pleasure, my friend. Listen, I meant it. Travel safe going home to Rio. Don't drink the water. Don't swim.
Thank you very much.
Don't swim in the bay, Bobby. You'll be fine.
I don't plan to.
All right, Bobby, take care. Thanks a lot. The political animal bares its teeth and digs in for a hearty repast of the revolt now underway in American politics. And those who believe it should be encouraged instead of cut short. We'll get to that. We'll offer a chance for your phone calls and more when the Hardline continues.